Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host KHALID. But today is the 17th of December 2024 and these are the stories that we will be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin with the latest as far as the Middle East situation is concerned, whether it be Syria, whether it be Gaza. The fact is that no area seems to be stable right now, and of course we all know about the atrocities that are being committed by Israel as we speak every single day, and the number of casualties that also keeps on increasing, and of course Israel that is occupying the Golan Heights, and the fact also that it is trying to put in as many of its occupants within Gaza as well. This is what a lot of the Israeli ministers are talking about, to occupy Gaza post whenever this war is over. I mean, it was already the intention and we understood it from day one, but now it is being made more clear through these statements. This and more will be discussed in our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the terrorism that is emanating from Afghanistan. We all know about the terrorists, we all know about the fitna, we all know about what they are creating as havoc within the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province as well as Balochistan province. We also know the resolve of our armed forces, of our establishment as far as tackling and thwarting such attempts with bravado as they have been doing. But the basic concern which every layman in Pakistan seems to have, including myself, is why is this happening? Why are such elements roaming free through and how are they allowed to roam within Afghanistan and then allowed to move and trickle in Pakistan through the borders? This and more will be discussed in our second story. Then we are going to talk about Priyanka Gandhi, who has been criticized for wearing a pro-Palestinian bag in the parliament. There was a huge uproar when she came wearing this bag, and members of the BJP especially were extremely vocal in their comments on this bag that Priyanka Gandhi was accompanying with her in the parliament. Finally, a Brazilian judge has ordered that a song by British pop superstar Adele that is known as Million Years Ago be pulled worldwide, including from streaming sites as well, because apparently there is a contest that a Brazilian musician has said that this in fact was his composition. Or the first time another Turkish composer has also said that it was his composition. Nevertheless, the song is running in hot waters. Let's begin with our first story, and that concerns the Middle East, Syria, Gaza, and of course how this Middle East slowly and steadily getting more and more inflamed by whatever is happening, and of course all fingers point towards Israel. We've been joined in the studios after a very long time by Dr. FARAH Nas, who is our foreign affairs expert and who joins us in the studio. Dr. FARAH, thank you very much to have joined us. Dr. FARAH, let's begin. Israeli negotiators, let's begin with the peace deal. Let's begin on a good note and then we'll go towards whatever is happening. A lot of people are saying that the deal, the peace deal or the ceasefire deal between Palestine and Israel is just around the corner. All the Israeli hostages are going to be freed, and as a result also there's going to be a ceasefire in Palestine. Israel is going to back off from Palestine. Joe Biden says that he pledges to work to free the remaining captives held in Gaza till he leaves office. Israel's foreign minister Gideon Saar says he's more optimistic than a month ago about securing a deal. Is there going to be a deal?
Well, Omar, I think we all have been talking about it since last year when the war broke out, that will there be any deal between the two of them? Will Israel be ready to have the deal with the people in Gaza or Hamas in particular? I don't see it happening.
All right.
And why I believe in it, that because Israel don't want to have a deal at all with the people in Gaza or Hamas in general, because they want to use this war to achieve their desired objectives in Gaza in general and Palestine overall. When we talk about Hamas, we have also been hearing about that Hamas is probably ready to have a deal with Israel.
But it was always ready. It was always, even when the 3-point agenda that Joe Biden had put forward, Hamas had agreed to it, but Israel never agreed.
Israel always step back from what it agrees upon. Even there was a time when President Biden was also kind of in a very, a shady kind of words that you need to get into this deal, because there was a lot of pressure on President Biden, and we could see the election outcome as a result of what was happening around. Because people across the world, they are sick of wars. They just want to live their lives irrespective of what is happening around us. But unfortunately, the military complexes and all whatever is around the war, they need to have war. They need to test their weapons. They need to make their businesses. And for all these businesses to come true, they need to have war. For Israel, the territory of Palestine is very important, and it has historical background, it has geographical significance as well. And then if we could see, like, even there was a talk happening around the two-state solution even today. I think there was some comments coming up from the world leadership, probably Italy, and who was trying to say that probably two-state solution is the best way to it. But today, when we look into is two-state solution a resolution to the problem? No, because we have seen the way Israel has established its settlements in West Bank, in Gaza, and overall, I don't see two-state solution is a solution to the problem at the moment where Gaza will be independent.
Then what's the solution?
Yeah. The solution is that probably they need to, because if we want to keep the territory of Gaza, with all due respect and all my sympathies lies with the people of Gaza, but if we take the territory of Gaza and give it to Palestinians and then West Bank and connect them together, how? This divide, you know, the geographical, this is just like East and West Pakistan. So this division of the territorial distribution is not making the two-state solution a possible solution to the problem.
That's interesting that you point this out, because I have two statements that came over, once from the Israeli Defense Minister Katz, and the other from the Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich. I'll begin with Katz. He said that Israel is going to have security control over Gaza with full freedom of action after what he says Hamas is defeated, just as it did in the occupied West Bank. He adds that he will not allow any armed group in Gaza to act against its communities and citizens. We will not allow a return to the reality before October 7. Also, far-right Israeli Finance Minister Smotrich says Israel will work to strengthen our hold on all parts of our country. He also confirms planning more Israeli construction in the occupied West Bank. We will not allow the Arabs to sever Gush Eston in Jerusalem, nor will we allow them to establish a Palestinian state that would endanger our existence here. Doesn't that make things clear?
So they're very clear on their lines of instructions for the world and for the people in Palestine, what they want, how they want, and what is their ultimate objectives. But I think we all are playing a bit naive, or I would say we're just waiting for some miracles to happen. But in this situation, if we look into it, technically speaking, I'm just saying in terms of geographical distribution, this division of Gaza and West Bank is not making it happen to bring them together and to give it to the people of Palestine as an independent state. If we, for instance, if we just, you know, swap, I know this may hurt the sentiments of many people who support Palestine, including myself, but if we want to bring a solution to the problem, the only solution is a swap of territory. Probably bringing or taking some territory which is close to the West Bank and bringing it together, and then giving Gaza to the people of Israel. So there is this peaceful kind of, I know it sounds cliche at the moment, but that's the only, you know, solution to the problem, where we switch territory if you really want to bring a peaceful solution to the problem. But if we want to continue this war, and if we want to, you know, drag on this conflict with Israel, by all means they are powerful. And I believe, being a realist, I believe fighting with the strongest is like fighting with a wall. You can't defeat a wall. So if they are thinking that they will defeat Israel, no, that's not going to happen. We can see that Doha tried its level best to bring some kind of negotiations, some kind of resolution between the two of them. Who has stepped back? It's always Israel. Israel, despite the fact that in terms of humanitarian aid, in terms of humanitarian assistance, human rights violation, violation of the international law, violation of the rules and regulation, norms and principles, it did what it wanted, right? The UN General Secretary is, you know, he seems to be very in a powerless position to bring pressure on Israel, particularly Netanyahu.
Because of the veto power.
True. And because of the veto power, and because of the United States blindly supporting Israel as well. But at the moment, we can see there's a change of leadership in America at the moment, where Trump is going to get in power. He is almost the president of America. But once he gained his seat and his term started, he believes in no war, I believe, at the moment. But will he step back from its support to Israel, I don't see that happening. It will still support Israel in come what may, because that's their strongest ally. And these powerful countries, I can understand that there's a lot of hue and cry within those powerful countries by their own citizens as well. But will they listen to those small segments, or will they listen to their larger objective, which is, dominating the world, showing their power, showing their strength, who we are, what we can do, and how we can achieve that? We have seen it the way they pressurized Russia in through Ukraine. We have seen the way they are pressurizing various other states and entities through the Middle Eastern conflict as well. So they are, it's a power of, it's a game of power, and it's a showcase of muscles through various means and ways. And I think war for these countries is the only way where they can tell, look, this is what we hold. We will use these kind of weaponry against you if you go against us.
All right. Farah, I'd also like to understand, I mean, you talked about the ally Israel. Let's talk about the US opponent, as the Donald Trump also we understand his sentiments about Iran. Now, during a speech to a group of women who were gathered in Tehran, the Iranian supreme leader emphasizes those who believe that the Tehran-led axis of resistance is finished after the changes in Syria are mistaken, quote unquote. He says the spirit of Nasrallah is alive, the spirit of Sinwar is alive, and he says their bodies might have been taken, but the beliefs remain, adding that their paths are going to continue. He says they might be attacking Gaza and taking martyrs on a daily basis, but they are still standing, they are still resisting. Lebanon also resists. The Zionist regime believes it is preparing itself through Syria to encircle Hezbollah's forces and uproot them, but the one who will be uprooted is Israel, quote unquote. Your take?
Well, I think the scenario, the way it has developed, looks like that probably these powerful countries, they will be a bit, shattered, and that include Israel as well. But will it happen? No, I don't think so. It's going to happen, because the UK support Israel openly and without being, reluctant. They provide all the supplies and means to wage this war and to continue it. United States support it, Australia support it, European countries support it, and even recently what Israel did is that even it threw away the Dublin embassy from Jerusalem as well, and they said we don't need it because
it's supporting
Palestinians. But through the Syrian change of government or overthrow of the government and Iran's involvement in all of that, will it lead towards the overthrow of the Israel and Israeli government and all? I don't think so. That's going to happen in the near future. Maybe later in time, when they all group together and are stronger enough. But who is going to be grouped together? Turkey, you are referring to? Iran, you are referring to? Who are you talking about? All these countries are under immense economical, financial sanctions, and not Turkey in general, but under economical sanctions and problems. So all these countries that we are referring to, they are undergoing lots of problems within their own skin. So they have to deal with their own problems first and then go after Israel. Iran tried to play a bit smartly, but we have seen the way things have unfolded in the recent history, where Iran tried to go and attack Israel one way or the other. Did it lead towards some kind of problems for Israel? No. But when Israel tried to counter its means in Iran, it did it right in the heart of Iran, that is Tehran, the way it conducted targeted operations in Iran. So in this, I can see who is more powerful at the moment. Things can turn around in the future, but at the moment, Israel is stronger, and I don't see it moving beyond.
All right, let's move towards Syria before we return to Gaza. A US advocacy group says Syria mass grave has been found that contains 100,000 bodies, victims of people. Victims were those people who were tortured and killed by the now overthrown Assad government, Bashar al-Assad's government. Now, these are allegations for the moment. Hundreds of thousands of Syrians are estimated to have been killed since 2011. This is what a lot of people are now saying when Assad's crackdown on protests against his rule grew into a full-scale civil war. What's your take as far as allegations such as these are concerned?
I think this mass grave, larger number of people putting in one grave, I think there are some evidences associated to it. So there could be some kind of truth to what the allegations are coming forward. And I must say, without even shying away from that, Assad's government was never a favorite one for all the Western powers. The government was always like something considered anti, so that's why they were resisting. But before coming here, I was just going through some of the research, and I could find that all the resource countries, there's a conflict over there, including Syria. I can't say that Syria is one of the strongest resource country, but it has some kind of their Golan Heights is also very important in that aspect. That's why there is still a conflict over there. But the new government the Western powers will be in a position to form a stronger alliances with the new government. They are trying their level best, because it's like more like, having an association that through which they're going to bank on their resources, bank on their potential to wage conflict or wars against, or to regroup their alliances with other countries whom they are probably partnering against. So Syria is a very important country in that context, and we could see Russian prisons, its naval bases are also very important over there. Russia at the moment is maintaining its bases, but for how long we don't know, because if the Western, they are in a better position to establish its
What
own
if the new
ground
government asks Russia to remove its bases? I mean, it will
that
have
would
an
be a
option.
new ball game, but we still have to wait, because it's still too early to talk about such kind of things where things are rapidly changing, and where America, the leadership is coming, new leadership is coming up under Trump administration. We don't know what Trump is going to have and think about the Middle East, but of course Middle East is always important for a variety of reasons. One, oil-rich countries, secondly, Israel prisons, and third, the geographical position of the Middle East, which they believe that the territorial and even religious context, there is also involvement in that as well. But in terms of geographical significance, there is an expansion plan which has already been established and talked about, that Israel is probably going to establish its borders beyond its territory. And to talk about that, all Western countries, they are supporting Israel in that context. On the other side, if we flip the coin, then Palestinians, they believe that from the Nile to the sea, Palestine is going to be free, and that means they're going to push away Israel. So will this conflict really push one or the other? At the moment, I could see Palestinians are in a troubled water, because Israelis, they are strong in all ways and means, but on the other side, Palestinians, they are at the losing end.
All right, before we move on to Gaza, I just wanted to highlight, you talked about Trump. He has described the toppling of Bashar al-Assad as an unfriendly takeover by Turkey, which has aligned itself with several of the opposition groups. Of course, we all know about that, but he was praising Ankara for that during a wide-ranging news conference on Monday. He said, I think Turkey is very smart. Turkey did an unfriendly takeover without a lot of lives being lost, and I can say that Assad was a butcher, what he did to children. I mean, I'm just giving you an example. Now, coming back to Gaza, whether it be the health crisis, whether it be the brutalities, whether it be the refugee camps where the women and children are still being massacred, more than 45,000 have been officially massacred, killed by Israel since the 7th of October, and more than around 110,000 now have been injured. And this is just, the more or less official figures. The real figures we'll know once and when this war ends. Then there is the health crisis, the hospitals that are being bombarded, the lack of sanitation, water and food. That is a huge crisis. The World Health Organization, the World Food Program talks about it. There are so many crises, engulfing Palestine, but not much is being done to alleviate the sufferings. Why is that?
The first thing is, who is going to alleviate the suffering? Who is going to bring some kind of peaceful resolve so the people of Gaza who are in a suffering or a war-torn situation can breathe at least? UN is helpless. The world organizations, all the rest of them, they are helpless. And I think the entire world find themselves in a very pitiable situation where they want to help, they want to support, but they cannot, because they cannot stand against Israel. They cannot stand against United States. So that's a misery. Along with all these numbers that you have quoted, more than 13,000 students have died. The schools have been bombed, including the UN schools.
The education system has more or less been destroyed.
So doctors, teachers, students, patients, people with some kind of diseases or health problems, even the outbreak of the diseases is severe, food shortages is severe, but in all of this severity, who is going to help them and rescue them? UN is not in a position to go against Israel, and where there was a warning issued against the Prime Minister Netanyahu that he needs to be arrested, will they be in a position to arrest such a powerful man who is acting like, but here I must say it that it's only about Netanyahu and his team. We should not blame entire Jews into this, this situation.
That I've been saying as well.
Because this thing needs to be separated from Jews. I have been hearing lots of stories about Jews getting targeted. We have heard about them getting targeted in Europe, which was a very
Australia also an incident has happened.
In most of the cases where people are trying to take their revenge on Jews, I can understand the sentiments of the people who are also getting involved with these kind of activities. But I think this is high time where we find the international organizations helpless, UN helpless, world powerful countries helpless to go and help and support these countries. So in this, I think it's the duty of every civilized citizen of every country, irrespective of where you are, to act in a very, very careful fashion. Because if you go against people as such, it will lead to a further escalation of the problems. And we need to raise awareness through educated platforms, through media, through, if things
like we are doing here in our channel.
And we should not stop it. Nothing should let us to stop it. I think that's the only solution. That's the only way we have to keep this conversation valid. And that's the only way forward.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Farah, to have joined us, to have come all the way to the studios after such a long hiatus. I hope to see a little bit more of you in the coming days and weeks as well. Let's hope that manages to happen. Thank you very much, Dr. Farah, to have joined us and to have given us your valid opinion as far as the situation in the Middle East is concerned. Let's come to our second story, ladies and gentlemen, that concerns Afghanistan, the terrorism that is emanating from Afghanistan. This is nothing new. Even yesterday on the 10th anniversary of the APS strategy, we did manage to highlight many of the important things that highlighted the important aspect of the terrorism that emanates from Afghanistan. The fact also remains that despite so many overtures that Pakistan has had vis-a-vis Afghanistan, nothing much has come as a response from the Afghan side. We have given them dossiers, we have had meetings with them, we have sent delegations to them highlighting the importance of whatever needs to be done from the Afghan side. But the Afghan interim government, for whichever reason, maybe reasons that go beyond our understanding, do not or are not trying to take these necessary measures. Then there are the skirmishes across the border, then there are the incidents that continue to happen within Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and within Balochistan as well. The fact also is that the government in Pakistan seems to get less and less option as far as how to deal with this with Afghanistan. We are dealing with those fitna within the Pakistani territories, and we are dealing with them extremely efficiently, but the fact is that we need to make Afghanistan or the Afghan interim government understand that whatever it is doing vis-a-vis these terrorist outfits is damaging not only Afghanistan, not only Pakistan, but the region and bilateral relations as well. We've been joined by Major General retired TARIQ RASHEED Khan Saab. He's a defense analyst. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us after a bit of time. I'd like to understand, because when it comes to Afghanistan, sirs, things are so simple, but all the these very simple things are also extremely complex, which I fail to understand. Made complex by the attitude of the Afghan interim government, made complex by other regional actors that are playing behind the scenes in order to further destabilize Pakistan. When you look at the kinds of terrorism that have been executed in Pakistan, how much of that is with foreign assistance in your point of view?
What I think is, basing on my personal experience and what we have seen in the world, is the terrorism happening in any country, any part of the world, is always supported by some foreign elements. What we have seen in Iraq, what we have just seen in Syria, what we are witnessing in Afghanistan. So terrorism is always happening in any sovereign countries is abetted, supported by some foreign elements. For example, who is financing them, from where the weapons are coming, who is facilitating them. It's not an easy thing, for example.
True.
So, to your question, it is always supported by some foreign element. As regard terrorism in Pakistan is concerned, we have mostly investigated and found that the bases are in Afghanistan. So initially we were thinking that the Afghan government has not been able to rein them in, have not been able to control them. But what we have seen in Syria recently, that the Al-Nasr group and also this Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, led by Abu Jalani al-Arshara, you see, I was listening to US President. He said, we have declared them as a terrorist organization. But then later he said, but they have come with our support. Though on one hand they declared them as a terrorist organization, but simultaneously they are also keeping them as one of their proxies and they are supporting them. So I think same thing is happening in Afghanistan. So number of terrorist groups which we see there, Al-Qaeda, the TTP, Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, ETMI, and Haqqani Network, etc. They have some kind of approval by the enemies of Pakistan, which is primarily India and also certain Western powers, in my analysis.
In your point of view, sir, the number of incidents that have happened in Pakistan in the different provinces are not a small number. I mean, we've seen so many incidents happen since, specifically since 2022. What is the responsibility now of the Pakistani authorities, the government, the establishment, the military, our armed forces? What should now be the reaction of Pakistan in order to thwart such elements once and for all? We've done that in the past.
Exactly.
We've had important operations in the past that were extremely successful. What needs to be done now in the wake of all that is happening since the last few months and the last couple of years?
I think what we need to do is do some kind of legislation to quickly, for example, some terrorists apprehended, they should be caught. We should decide their case within days and announce exemplary punishment for them. And then media needs to play its role, that it shows them that those punishments are being executed. And then we need to be on one page. Already the armed forces of Pakistan and the government is on one page. But the opposition is also is required to play an equal role and supports the government, at least on the terrorism incident happening in Pakistan. So as a nation, we need to be on one page. The media needs to educate the people, the masses, that this is the battle of the sovereignty of Pakistan. Any activity taking place which undermines the law enforcing agencies, which undermines the state of Pakistan, is anti-Pakistan activities. So these people, person involved in this directly or facilitating them, need to be dealt with the iron hand and need to be given capital punishments.
When you look at these incidents that happen in KP and Balochistan in particular, we know that the fitna al-Khawarij is at hand. We know that because we have named them fitna because of that very reason. How, in your point of view, have such incidents impacted Pakistan's approach as far as counter-terrorism is concerned?
You see, I would like to say that I would like to appreciate the present government, that at least they have given them a proper name. Initially, we were calling them Talibans, good Taliban or the bad Taliban. So this credit goes to the present government that they have rightly named them as a fitna al-Khawarij. And the armed forces of Pakistan, which are playing the lead roles, have been able to wipe out the majority of them from Pakistan. Though no incidents are only confined to the two provinces of Pakistan, which is the KPK and the Balochistan. And we need to all them, because anything happening against the state of Pakistan which weakens them affects everybody.
True.
So whether it's the opposition, whether they are in the government, whether it's a law enforcing agency, we need to be on one page as far as anything which is happening against the interest of Pakistan.
All right. Also, sir, I'd like to understand, this is not only a conventional but an unconventional war as well. We have the same nefarious elements like the fitna also portraying their point of view, their narrative through social media. So of course comes the whole understanding of how to deal with that social media, digital terrorism, that has been, this is a term that has been coined many a times in the past. In your point of view, has the public perception vis-a-vis terrorism within Pakistan changed? How has social media impacted that change? And do they have a real understanding of facts and figures regarding such terrorist elements?
On this issue, we have highlighted a very important issue, because the perception sometimes becomes more important than reality. Reality, for example, may be different, but people are perceiving it differently. So government need to, for example, pay attention to these aspects also and do some kind of legislation. Learning from the experience from the United Kingdom, as in the recent past, for example, they have dealt with this kind of misinformation and disinformation, and then very quickly they brought those people, culprits, to the justice and gave them punishments. We need to learn from the other developed states like for example, the US, how have they dealt with social media's menace. And on one hand, this is a facility. On one hand, it connects you with the whole world, but on the other hand, it affects your mind, especially if it's a misinformation or willingly they are doing some kind of disinformation. So there has to be some legislation where such people are identified and suitably punished.
All right. Don't you feel it is a responsibility also the Afghan interim government to work jointly with Pakistan? If it does not have the capacity or the capability, then ask Pakistan to provide it with that capacity building or that capability so that they can deal with such elements? Or is the Afghan interim government not interested in that?
Very rightly said. I would like to quote you an example of recent, the Minister of Refugee, KHALID REHMAN Haqqani, who has been killed. So one of the very important minister a week ago has been killed in a suicide attack. So that shows the lack of capacity building, lack of capability of one governments, and they need to identify that they need to control this. Their own minister, their own population, their own government is not safe from such kind of activities. So they need to, for example, ask Pakistan, and Pakistan can always help them. And we can jointly work out a plan where their soil is not allowed to be used by the those so-called terrorists.
All right, but the fact is that Pakistan, I'm sure, has had the discussion many a times. But why, I would like to understand, why is the Afghan interim government showing a certain reluctance as far as dealing with the issue?
I think during their struggle to get to the powers, and once they were working against the Americans especially, so they got support from such kind of elements. They got support from TARIQ Pakistan, from other, for example, the terrorist, so-called terrorist organizations. No, they find it difficult to straight away, for example, in a very clear-cut way to disengage from them or ask them to leave Afghanistan soil. But no, for example, this incident which I have quoted to you, it is right at the doorstep.
True.
It is affecting them. So they need to rethink on their policies of tolerating such terrorist organization. It is their own interest that they eliminate and show a ruthless, for example, disregard to anybody who is using their soil to interfere any of the neighboring countries.
All right. What about the joint counter-terrorism efforts we've heard of on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly session? There was a meeting of important countries that included Pakistan as well to thwart out a strategy. There have been different meetings in the past as well. The United Nations is cognizant of this very issue. The important countries in the West are cognizant of that very issue. The United States or China both have, said that if Pakistan wants, we can have joint counter-terrorism collaborations with it. Do you feel that such joint counter-terrorism collaborations would yield the necessary results as far as dealing with such elements is concerned?
I think it will yield definitely result, because we are part of a international, for example, organizations. We are a very responsible state. We have been working there very closely, for example, with the US, with the UK and other developed power or P5 countries. So we need to take them in confidence.
All right.
And tell them that we are, for example, we helped you whenever there was a need to help you, and we have been very sincere to you. No, this is a menace, we would like to counter it, and you need to help us in this regard. Because if you work jointly with the international organization, international community, it will always help you.
All right. Sir, also there was a recent meeting of the formation commanders in which there was a resolve that was also put forward to not only support the government efforts in fostering economic growth, but also to crack down on illegal spectrum and eradicating terror crime nexus. This is something that has been talked about in the past as well. How should we now move forward? Because I feel all of this is more or less interrelated. Terrorism, terror crime nexus and illegal spectrum.
Exactly. These all are interrelated, because If there is a black money, this always goes to the hands of the smuggler, the anti-state elements. So this Formation Commander Conference, I would say, since I have been part of it, this is a very high forum. And the top brass of the current Pakistan Army is very, very professional. All of them come who have reached to the Formation Commander level. They are very professional. They have come to this level through sheer dedication, hard works, and they are committed to safeguard the national interest, no matter whatever is the situations. So this illegal spectrum, I think government needs to come onto the iron hand. But there is, I would say, issue, this can't be resolved over a night. Government needs to pay attention to these aspects. They need to develop industry, they need to create jobs, they need to enroll those blue chip youngsters in various institute of Pakistans. And then they also need to, I would say, my dear brother, they need to develop Pakistan universally. As if you go to Europe, you go to any Europe developed country, you find the kind of development is uniform everywhere. Whether you go to north, whether you go to south, east and west. So we have 4 provinces, and you see the city looks different. The kind of development which you see in Islamabad is very different to Peshawar, and what you see in Peshawar is very different to Quetta, and what you see Quetta is very different to Karachi. So we need to have uniform kind of development, uniform kind of facilities given to your people, so they remains on board.
All right. The role of NACTA, the role of the National Fusion Center, how do you view that? And of course, with that comes the National Action Plan that has been extremely pertinent since the APS tragedy took place around 10 years back. Yes, in fact, on the 16th of December 2014. How do you view the roles? How do you view the National Action Plan, B, NACTA, C, the National Fusion Center, both centers that have been established, in fact, to deal with the menace of terrorism and of course also to implement the National Action Plan. What more needs to be done?
I think already what needs to be done is being done. For example, based on my experience, I can tell you, whenever there is a crisis situation anywhere in your area of responsibility, the top military commander would go there, he would sit there, he will supervise all kinds of operation which is happening there. So all these organizations like the NACTA, those who have made the National Action Plan, so they are all wonderful organizations, they have worked very well. What we need to do is that, especially in the KPK, in my view, and in Balochistan, we need to place all available resources under one command. It could be a military command, it could be a provincial command, and we need to give them resources, need to give them tasks, and they need to visualize, understand the assessment of the situation. What is the threat? So after having identified that, they need to eliminate that. You can give them the time frame, that this is the time frame, these are your resources, and you need to, for example, stabilize the situation. So instead of everybody working independently and reporting to different authorities, we need to create some kind of command and put them resources and ask them to, for example.
And another thing that from command and all of that joint command you talk about, a central command, but for that you need to have consensus. When you look at provinces that have a discord with the other governments, for example, the KP government, it needs to understand as well the gravity of the situation as far as terrorism is concerned, and they need to move in cohesion with the federal government, with other governments, as you said, to form a joint strategy that could be effective and proactive.
Exactly.
But for that, all stakeholders need to be on one page. Why is that such a difficult thing to happen?
You see, we have an elected government. We have elected provincial governments, we have elected federal governments. So they need to realize their responsibility. They have a lot of perks and privileges, but perks and privileges come with the responsibility and also with the accountability. So I think, for example, if something is happening in KPK in Waziristan, or is happening in Panjgur or at Gwadar, those political representatives which have come elected from that part of, they need to play their roles. And we also make them little accountable also, that these things are happening in your area, you need to play your roles. And they need to sit, for example, in the respective institution like the Provincial Assembly and the National Assembly and talk about these things.
Exactly. So in parliamentary forums, in democratic
forums. So that is the highest forum.
And
then they need to understand that anything which is good for Pakistan, they need to be on one page. Anything which is not against the interest of Pakistan, again they need to be on one page. And this is a joint and collective effort to eradicate terrorism, to develop Pakistan uniformly and for the people of Pakistan.
Sir, what needs to be done as far as those backers of terrorism that emanates from Afghanistan is concerned? For example, RAW, for example, India. We've had ample proof, and we've provided that proof to many an international organization and many important countries in the West as far as what India's agenda has been, as far as Pakistan's and its instability is concerned. What can Pakistan do more as far as India is concerned, as far as exposing RAW is concerned, and also NDS and all such factors that are behind these terrorist outfits?
I think Pakistan has very credible proof of RAW's involvement, especially in Balochistan. So we have been presenting at a different forum. We need to enhance such, for example, our efforts and take Indians or the RAW in all possible forum like the International Court of Justice, International Criminal Court. We need to take them to UN. We need to take them, for example, in Arab leagues. Whatever, for example, where India is represented, we need to counter them and talk to our, for example, those friends which also have a good relation with India to, for example, put some kind of pressure on them, like the China, like the Saudi Arabia, like the UAE, even America. Take the example, for example, Canada. The Indian, for example, they were involved in the killing of a Sikh in Canada, and they expelled their diplomats. If, for example, we have a proof, and so we can do such thing with India or any country which undermines the interest or sovereignty of Pakistan.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us, to have given us your valid input as far as terrorism that emanates from Afghanistan is concerned. But terrorism as a whole, as a topic also, is extremely important for Pakistan, for the Pakistani public in general. We need to live in an era where, you know, we can be considered safe. And we do, I mean, what we also need to appreciate is what is happening on the front and on the back of us, that we don't even see all the defense forces that are laying down their lives every single day to defend our motherland and to defend us from leading, so that we can, lead normal lives. And that also needs to be appreciated, and that also needs to be put, to the public in Pakistan as to the appreciation of the role of all those defense forces, whether it be the police, frontier constabulary, the armed forces or others, who have been doing that every hour of every day since Pakistan got independent. I think we need to laud that as an ending note, as a parting note. Just wanted to say that.
Thank you very much. I totally agree with you.
Thank you very much, Major General TARIQ Rashid Khan Sahab, Defense Analyst, to have joined us. Just stay for us for 2 more minutes till I end the show. We have 2 more small topics to discuss with you. The first concerns Priyanka Gandhi. Now, Priyanka Gandhi made headlines. Why? Because she went to the Parliament, Indian Parliament, and she was, she had a Palestinian a bag that was showing up, a Palestinian flag and Palestinian identity on that bag, and that created a furor specifically with the BJP, and the BJP had a lot to say as far as it's concerned. Then Priyanka had this to say: who is going to decide what clothes are wear now? Who is going to decide that? Then of course they are also a lot of BJP people say that this is all being framed as an attempt to prioritize foreign concerns over domestic issues. Is it true or is it not? I leave that to you. Finally, a Brazilian judge has ordered that a song, ladies and gentlemen, by British pop superstar Adele, that is known as Million Years Ago, be pulled worldwide, including on all the streaming services, because of an ongoing plagiarism claim by a Brazilian composer. Not the first time that a composer has made such a claim. There was also a claim by a Turkish composer as far as this very song is concerned. For the moment, it is being removed from all the platforms. Let's see what happens as far as this claim is concerned, whether it is genuine or not. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news story segments that pertain to us here in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.